You're with me, Miriam Angel, Salim Barisa, and Emmanuel Gona. And in studio, we do have an advocate of the High Court, that is Lawrence Obonyo. And we want to talk about what happens when you are arrested and charged in a foreign country. There's an ongoing case right now of a lady who was arrested in Vietnam, and she's been sentenced to death. Lawrence, good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so very much for having me today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for creating time.
It's a pleasure.
Before we get into the conversation around Margaret,
Yes.
earlier on, we were talking about Meru governor. So Meru, we have a new governor.
Yes.
Meru County governor.
Honorable Mutuma.
Yes.
Yes.
Isaac Mutuma.
Yes.
And he was the deputy governor to
Yes.
Kawira Mwangaza.
Yes, yes.
And one would say, why does it have to be automatic that after Kawira was impeached,
Yes.
then now Isaac Mutuma becomes officially the Meru governor? Why can't they go for a re-election?
As they say, power abhors vacuum.
Yeah.
There's a lot and there's so many things that can happen when there's an instance where you are uncertain as to who is in leadership. Leadership gives you governance. So when you have governance that has a responsibility of delivering services to the people and all that, you do not have an opportunity to let that be or be left that there's no one in charge.
Yeah.
Essentially, you'd be descending to anarchy or chaos. So you need a proper structure so that you can have even the members of county government, county assembly,
Yeah.
and the general populace get services through the right channel. Remember also, in the new constitution, we have a twin ticket of governor and the deputy governor. This is to cater for such instances like this in the event of death, in the event of impeachment, in the event of being not in office for legal reasons. So this is where now the deputy governor steps up. So that power and governance can continue, like we call it perpetuity of office. So that they hold an office for that period of time and then they move on. Yes, yes.
Mimi wakili niko na mashaka.
Naam.
Na whatever is happening, si mara ya kwanza, si mara ya pili.
Naam.
I think kama ni mara ya 4 hivi tunashuhudia kitu kama hiki. But niko na ile kwamba, for example, Kawira, yeye ndiye alisema mimi nataka kuwa governor.
Ndio.
Na watu by that virtue ya kumchagua yeye, walimpigia yeye kura, walimwamini yeye kuwaongoza, sio Mutuma. Mutuma amekuja pale the mercy ya Kawira kwa sababu katiba inataka lazima uwe na naibu wako
Deputy.
ama running mate.
Ndio.
So hii kitu yenye inafanyika ni kuna loophole kwa katiba kwamba inafanya huyu akishaondoka huyu mwingine achukue madaraka, lakini si yule ambaye kwamba watu walikuwa wanataka amfanyie kazi. Because hata chini ya maji kuna watu wenye wanatia ufunguo na huende kaa huyu ambaye yuko hapo ndiye ambaye pia amehusika kwenye kutia ufunguo yule kuondoka. Yes.
Na kuelewa vizuri, lakini kuna jambo lazima tukosoe kidogo.
Yes.
Wakati ambapo wapiga kura walipokuwa wanapiga kura ili mtu aingie ofisini kama governor na naibu wake, cha msingi ni hawakuwa wanampigia mtu mmoja kura. Wanaipigia ile kizungu wanaita ticket. Hiyo tikiti ambayo imeshikilia watu wawili. Kama vile tunasema a coin has two sides. Sasa pande zote mbili. Hapo ambapo unaambiwa wewe kama mwanasiasa ama ambaye anawania kiti chochote, upande mmoja unaweza kuvuta nyuma, upande mmoja waweza kuongeza alama. Hivi basi wakati ambapo alikuwa anapigiwa kura, hakuwa anapigiwa kura Kawira Mwangaza peke yake. Alikuwa anapigiwa yeye na mwenzake. Na kwa sababu gani anapigiwa yeye na mwenzake? Ili uongozi usiwe kukaja kuwa na wakati ambao uongozi hauna mtu wa kuongoza. Wakati mtu mmoja hayuko kwa sababu ambazo za kisheria zinaruhusiwa, yule mwingine anapewa nafasi ya kuongoza. Iwapo atakuwa amekuwa na ugonjwa ambao hautibiki, ameshtakiwa na akawatiwa jela zaidi ya muda wa miezi 6, akapatikana hana haki ya kushikilia ofisi kisheria, akawa pengine amekufa, pengine ameondolewa kisheria kama vile huyu ambaye aliondolewa kisheria. Sasa mambo hayo yanaonyesha kuwa uongozi ama ile governance kwa kizungu lazima uendelee, sababu wale wapiga kura ama wananchi wa kule chini wanahitaji services na huduma lazima ziendelee.
So
hivi basi mpiga kura wakati anapopiga kura, wakati tutakapoelekea wakati wa kupiga kura, lazima aelewe ya kuwa ukimpigia mtu kura yule unayemtaja kama kiongozi, yule running mate wake ama tikiti ambayo ako nayo, kuna nafasi ama kuna uwezekano yule anaweza kuchukulia pale. Iwapo utaona yule mwingine hafai, basi usimpigie huyu mwingine kura.
Sasa hapo Miriam, kidogo kwa kumaliza, ujibu kwa kifupi.
Naam.
Kwa urais pale juu,
naam,
akiondoka kwa namna yoyote ile,
ndio
ambazo umeshazitaja, inatoa siku 90, nafikiri ni miezi 3, and then tunaenda kwa uchaguzi.
Ndio.
Kwa nini hapa katiba haikuweka hicho kitu hapa?
Kipengee hicho, asante sana kwa swali. Kipengee hicho ambacho kilikuwa katika katiba kuweka kuwa uongozi ambao unafaa kuchukua, wajua uongozi wa nchi una uzito zaidi ya kushinda uongozi wa county. Lakini hapo lazima uangalie ya kuwa nafasi ambayo tuliopewa ili tuwe na kiongozi wa nchi ilikuwa inatupatia nafasi kurudi kwenye debe, sababu yule ambaye atakayechaguliwa kwa wakati wote lazima wawe wawili. Lakini katika sheria hizi za county, huyu ambaye amechukua uongozi kwa sasa, sheria imempa nafasi ya kuteua mwingine ili tusirudi kwa debe tena. Lakini pale kwenye presidency, wajua iwapo rais atakapokosekana, na sababu ambazo tunaweza zijua kama kwa sasa IBC haiko ama tume ya kufanya uchaguzi haijateuliwa vizuri, lazima kuwe na nafasi ya yule ambaye atashikilia uongozi. Na uongozi wa nchi ni mzito sana kuachia mtu ambaye atachukua kwa kusucceed mwenzake, ili ambapo ndio tunasema lazima turudi kwenye debe ili watu wapate nafasi.
Okay.
Naam.
Kwa hiyo sababu tumetaja tiketi hapa. Kuna uwezekano pia kwamba pengine hawa wawili, kwa sababu ni tiketi moja, wakaenda at the same time, ndio sasa watu pengine warudi debeni, ama inakuwaje? Kwa sababu kwa mfano hii kesi ya Kawira ilikuwa ni makosa ambayo yalikuwa yanafanyika.
Ndio.
Na kwa sababu ni tiketi moja, si kuna uwezekano wa kwamba kosa hili bado likawa ni la wote wawili kama tiketi?
Swali ambalo unasema ni la muhimu sana. Kuna njia tofauti ambazo zinaweza fanya waende wote wawili. Lakini hapo pia sheria, vile tulivyosema kwa kizungu, the law abhors vacuum. Hakufai kuwa na nafasi yote ambapo hakuna uongozi. Kunazo nafasi zile, tukisoma sheria vizuri utapata ya kuwa iwapo wote wawili hawezi kuwa, yule speaker wa county assembly ile wako atapewa nafasi ya kushikilia uongozi kwa muda fulani kabla ya uchaguzi ufanyike. Vivyo hivyo vinafanyika katika kipengee cha juu, hata ukisema katika urais ama mambo kama hayo. Kwaweza kuwa na ajali, kwaweza kuwa na mambo yote ambayo yanaweza fanya wote wasiwe kwa wakati mmoja. Sheria inapeana nafasi ya mtu mwingine kushikilia kwa muda fulani. Naam.
Thank you so much. I think that is clear now.
Thank you so much.
Now let's go back to, let's look at the case, what's happening in Vietnam. So
Yes.
Margaret Nduta was sentenced to death in Vietnam for drug trafficking.
Yes.
And currently the Kenyan government, through the Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary, Korir Singwei, confirmed its intervention to secure a reprieve for Margaret.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you look at Vietnam, their rule on drug trafficking is clear, and it says that the penalty for drug trafficking in Vietnam is anyone found guilty of trafficking 100 grams or more of heroin, cocaine, and amphetamine face the death penalty.
Yes.
Where are we at the moment with this case? Execution was supposed to be done yesterday.
Yes.
Where are we?
Officially, we, as you have said, the Principal Secretary of Foreign Affairs has not given us the an official statement on whether the same has been stalled or it has gone ahead.
Yeah.
As a country, we cannot interfere with the procedures, laws, and articulation or execution of the laws in a different country. All we can do is present a plea for consideration through the right channels That one is now on the aspect of diplomatic relations between our country and the country that is in question. In this case, we are talking about Vietnam. So an official statement, to answer your question, an official statement has not come from the government informing us whether the Republic of Vietnam has considered our reviews or not. And remember, just like in this country, there are three arms of the government. We have the judiciary, we have the executive, and we have the National Assembly. So the same model has been adopted for most democracies in the world. Vietnam cannot be any different. So when you find that a judicial arm of the government has given a particular stand, and then you also have a political wing of the government, that is the executive, because the foreign secretary would come through the executive, then the consideration has to go through the right channels. That is why I would urge that we wait for the official statement of the government on the position that is there so that we can get to understand what is happening.
Can the Kenyan government intervene and succeed?
It's a very, very long shot, to tell you the truth. Because remember, if there was an instance where maybe someone would say that due process has not been followed, there are certain atrocities that are happening against the person, then you would say that the Kenyan government can lodge a passionate appeal on humanitarian grounds. But we are coming towards this at the tail end. Now someone has already been convicted.
Yes.
But before conviction, a trial has already happened. So, question is, why didn't we intervene at that point when she was arrested? She was arrested, I believe, in 2023, and the process has been ongoing in 2025. If there were certain interventions that could have happened, because again, if you allow me, I would give you the procedure of how it would happen if a Kenyan person is arrested in a foreign territory. The first point of contact is you're supposed to ask for permission to notify your consulate or the embassy, whichever one is closest. And because we have what we call reciprocity, this reciprocity is if you give me a cup, I give you a cup. If you give me justice, I give you justice. So at the end of the day, if we have that and a person is actually charged or arrested, they're given an opportunity to reach out to their consulate so that the consulate can see whether they can intervene or not. This happens even in Kenya. And we have laws that have actually been passed. We have Cap 76, it's legal jargon.
It's okay.
Chapter 76 of the laws of Kenya, read together with Chapter 77 of the laws of Kenya. This talks about what we have to do in terms of extradition and things like that. And remember, narcotics and such related offenses, for countries that we have either an extradition treaty with them or fall within the Commonwealth, then we have an arrangement where extradition can happen. Unfortunately, Vietnam is not part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, that's actually that was going to be my next question.
Yes.
So if she would have reached out then, upon arrest, she'd have reached out to the consulate.
Yes.
Would it have been easy for Kenya to intervene?
It also boils down to the diplomatic arrangements that are there. Remember, this is a personal offense. It's in personam. It's an issue where you're said to have committed a personal offense. It's not like not being found with the right papers and things like that. Let's say an expiry that was due to be renewed at some point, and the embassy or the country was going through something. This is very personal, because if she had succeeded, let's assume that she knew everything that was happening. If she had succeeded, the gain or benefit would have come to her personally. So when you're found on a personal offense, the embassy has, or the diplomatic channels, they have an opportunity to weigh the situation. We've had instances in my experience where I deal mostly with children matters. You have these instances where people call upon the embassy to intervene on civil matters. We call them now civil matters. But now in this one, it's a criminal offense where you are charged personally to have committed a personal offense. So to answer your question shortly, briefly, is that the consulate or the government is not mandated to intervene, but it's optional. upon weighing whatever that they consider is a needy case.
So why are we seeing the government intervene now?
I think what we're seeing, in my personal opinion, what we're seeing right now is it's a populist response in trying to tell people that, oh, we're doing something. Because the Kenyan government, having issued a Kenyan passport to a Kenyan citizen who has been arrested in a different jurisdiction, whereby the processing and the arrest was also made public through the media channels back then, cannot say that it's right now that execution is due, that it's only when they're stepping up. So I'm looking at it as a populist response and not a proper, genuine response to this. Because you cannot tell me, with the intelligence that we have, with the foreign relations that we have, that the Kenyan government did not know that a Kenyan is undergoing a trial in Vietnam. Yes.
Well said.
Mimi swali langu linakuja hapa kwenye uhusiano wa mataifa haya mawili. Kenya hawana balozi wa Vietnam.
Ndio.
Hapa.
Ndio.
Na kule hakuna balozi wa Kenya huko.
Ndio.
Vietnam.
Ndio.
The latest report ni kwamba wale ambao maambassador ambao wako Bangkok, right? Ndio ambao wanatekana kwenda Hanoi as of late jana. So kama wamefika hawajafika, shauri yao na safari yao. So hii uhusiano kumaanisha kwamba hapa hakuna uhusiano wa moja kwa moja baina ya Nairobi na Hanoi. Unaiweka wapi hali ya huyu bidada, that is kama bado yuko nasi?
Mwanzo utaniruhusu nikukosoe hapo kidogo. Kuna vile ubalozi huo unapangwa. Nyakati ambazo zilikuwa za zamani, kuna wale walikuwa wanaona umuhimu wa kuwa na ubalozi katika jimbo fulani au katika nchi fulani. Sasa yale tunaona leo ni ubalozi wa nchi ya Vietnam katika eneo la Afrika Mashariki. Utalipata katika nchi moja. Inapatia nafasi wale walioko karibu katika nchi majirani, wote wanajua kuwa kukiwa na chochote wanaenda katika nchi hiyo au wanawasiliana na ule ubalozi kupitia nchi hiyo. Vile vile kule kwingine tunasema ubalozi wa Kenya uko katika nchi jirani. Ukisema the regional, whether it's ASEAN ama upande wetu ni EAC.
Dar es Salaam, that is.
Naam, yeah. Sasa si lazima ubalozi uwe nchini ili uwe na uhusiano katika nchi hiyo nyingine. Mnaweza kuwa na uhusiano lakini ubalozi unajumlisha, kama ni jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki, wanachagua mahali pamoja. Hivi basi tunaweza sema kikamilifu ya kuwa si vema kusema ya kuwa Kenya haina uhusiano na nchi ya Vietnam. Uhusiano upo, lakini ubalozi hauko hapa, na ubalozi wa Kenya hauko katika nchi ya Vietnam ama katika jiji la Hanoi. Lakini hata kama ubalozi hauko hapo, haizui mawasiliano baina ya nchi hizi. Kumbuka nchi hizi bado zinakutana katika UN. Nchi hizi zinakutana katika maeneo mbalimbali, na bado nchi hizi zina uhusiano wa kibiashara kwa njia moja au nyingine. Utapata kuna vitu ambavyo vinatoka Vietnam viko hapa, vitu vya Kenya viko kule, tuseme chai, tuseme hata kama ni mchele ama mambo kama hayo, utapata vitu kama hivyo utapata viko huku. Kwa hivyo uhusiano upo. Sasa vile ulivyosema, kulingana na mambo ya mwanadada huyu, kulikuwa na nafasi ya yule ambaye yuko pale baada ya mawasiliano, yule ambaye yuko katika nchi ya Thailand, Bangkok, aende ashughulike kule. Lakini kama ni barua ambao tunaambiwa, vile nilivyosema, if it's not a populist move, kama si mambo tu ya kufurahisha umma, lazima kuna mikakati ilikuwa imepangwa. Naam.
Kuna uwezekano wa kwamba pengine mtu raia pengine wa nchi jirani awe amekamatwa hapa.
Ndiyo.
Lakini hiyo kesi sishughulikiwe hapa, aregeshwe kwao nchini, ama iko vipi? Ni lazima kwamba akikamatwa kila kitu kifanyike kule?
Kujibu swali lako, kuna uwezekano raia wa nchi nyingine akishikwa hapa nchini, au raia wa Kenya akishikwa nchi nyingine, aregeshwe katika nchi yao ya kuzaliwa ama nchi yao ya kusajiliwa ili kesi ifanyike pale. Lakini mambo haya si ya kiwazi hivyo, lazima ufanye ombi. Kama hapa Kenya kuna procedure ama mpangilio ambao lazima ufanye. Attorney General lazima afanye application katika High Court, aitishe kile kinaitwa habeas corpus na aonyeshe ya kuwa itapitia Foreign Secretary wa nchi hiyo nyingine, ili yule ambaye ameshtakiwa katika nchi hiyo aregeshwe na kesi ile ile ifanyike hapa kama vile ingefanyika kule. So the same applies katika, pole nazungumza kizungu sana, lakini kuna vile vipengee viwili vya sheria ambavyo nimegusia. Chapter 76 of the laws of Kenya and chapter 77 of the laws of Kenya. Kuna hizo zinazungumzia extradition. Extradition ni huko kurudishwa, ili wewe kesi yako au makosa yako yatatuliwe kulingana na nchi ambayo umetoka. Lakini haitafika eti utaruhusiwa kwenda mahali, kwa mfano umefanya kosa la kupatikana na madawa ya kulevya, halafu uambiwe urudishwe katika nchi ambayo kupatikana na kosa la madawa ya kulevya si hatia. Hiyo haitakubalika, sababu itakupa nafasi ya kuponyoka. Yes.
We are speaking to Lawrence Obonyo. He is an advocate of the High Court. And we're looking at what happens when you get arrested and charged in a foreign country. I think now when we get back, he'll break it down. What do you need to do? Good morning. What question do you have? 0700917917. Good morning to you. You're with me, Miriam Angel, Salim Barisa, and Emmanuel Gona. And in studio, we do have Lawrence Obonyo. He is an advocate of the High Court. And it's from Lawrence Obonyo Legal Advocate.
Yes.
Good. I got it right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Gona asked a question before we went on a break. When somebody gets arrested in a foreign country, right?
Yes.
And then we intervene. The country intervenes and says, they make a plea with what you said. Do we maintain the same rule? Do we maintain the same rule, Ama? Do we change based on our country?
Thank you so much for the question, Rema. Those are the intricacies that come into play when such an application is to be considered.
Yeah.
Because if you have, the laws are a social contract between the people and the government. So essentially, you sign away certain rights to get certain protections. So, and law is very subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in one region, you find that one thing is an offense, and in another one, it's not an offense at all. Take, for instance, polygamy. You would say that bigamy is an offense here, but in another region, you can have as many women registered and you can enter into certain marriages like that. That is the societal expectation. So before, let's say someone kills another person here, and maybe that person is a foreigner of a country whereby the extradition rules and laws apply. As I said, Cap 76 and 77 of the laws of Kenya. So before that person is extradited to that country, or that person is extradited back to our country, an application has to be made. That application that is made through the judicial arm of the government will now be ratified and communicated through the executive, which is the Foreign Affairs Office, and then that person may be extradited. But what do they consider? There are certain thresholds or the rules that they have to consider. Number one is that, do we have laws capable of trying that person for that offense? It need not necessarily be exact to the letter, but let there be that this is a mischief in the society, this is the offense for that offending the society, and the punishment is also spelled out. So you may find that in one region, there's a death penalty that is still being upheld. We know that death sentence that here in Kenya, that is converted into life. So you find that in that instance, it would be allowed because it is two sides of the same coin. We need to ensure that the punitive aspect of a criminal offense is executed. So certain applications may be rejected for extradition. You remember, if I may remind some of our listeners that there was this case of a Kenyan called Don Bosco Gishana. This was a Kenyan national who was tried and convicted and actually sent to prison in Tanzania, a neighboring country, one that is Commonwealth. We are both in the East African community. But the offenses and how he was tried and sentenced were as per the law. So this country, I'm not very certain, but I don't think this country made the applications for extradition properly. Okay. So that person was tried from there. So to answer your question, it need not necessarily be word for word, but let there be something that can be considered by the judiciary, that the element of the mischief or the crime that has been committed against the society can be punished by the receiving country.
Okay.
Yes.
What does the Extradition Act state?
Now, this is it's a very wide topic, so
Yeah.
I may want to collapse it into very, very just if we read the preamble of it, we have Cap 77 and we have Cap 76. Cap 76 is the one that talks generally on extradition and says Section 6 says that there outlines the offenses that can, well, first of all, you have the band or category of offenses that can be someone can be extradited over. Number 2, you have to have an extradition arrangement or an extradition provision between the countries that you're talking about. Then you see when you go to Cap 77, it has gone through 2 repeals, but the substratum objective of it is within the Commonwealth. I believe there are 56 Commonwealth countries. Within the Commonwealth, you have certain things that you can bypass. Because you can invoke that provision, and then if it's within the Commonwealth, then it's easy. So these acts can be read together. Cap 76 can apply generally, but Cap 77 only applies to countries that fall within the Commonwealth. But the undergoing principles are the same that we said. An application has to be made, a consideration has to be given that the offense shall be tried, and the punitive aspect has to comply with what has offended that society. And then there has to be willingness by the countries, because you cannot force another country to extradite someone if there's no agreement by the countries.
Okay.
Because remember, there's the fundamental aspect of sovereignty of the country.
All right.
Because they may say, no, we are not comfortable with this. We will try the person here because we are a sovereign country. We're well capable of handling our own issues.
Okay.
Yes.
So now let's look at, because earlier on you said once you're arrested in a foreign country, you have to notify your consulate when arrested.
Yes.
So what next? What else should one do when they get arrested in a foreign country?
Essentially, you need to comply with what you would have complied with when you're here. You need, now speaking as an advocate or as a lawyer, you need to observe what you're saying and how it can harm you in terms of defense and everything. The Westerners call it Miranda rights. You need to keep quiet and wait for explanation. But above all, if possible, and if you have the capability, you need to get legal counsel. Because remember, when you're in a foreign country, you may not know all the provisions. Let's say, for instance, you've gone to any country. Name any country. You've gone to Hong Kong, which is a territory on its own, and let's say chewing gum is an offense, and you didn't know. So when you're arrested, you cannot start chest thumping and saying, this is not an offense where I come from. You have to be compliant. Listen to the offense. Keep quiet if it can hurt your defense. Get legal counsel. Above all, notify your consulate. Because if you are unable to get legal counsel where you are, you can actually request the consulate to arrange one for you.
Okay.
Yes.
Sasa hapa mahali kuna matatizo.
No.
Kuna wale ambao kwamba wanajulikana kihalali, hiyo
No.
lugha ya mawakili legally.
Yes.
Ako huko, anajulikana kwamba yuko Hong Kong, vile umesema, anajulikana yuko China huko.
Ndio.
Na kuna Wakenya wengi sana wako huko. Anaweza kuwa hata ana kibali cha kuonyesha kwamba yeye ni Mkenya, lakini hajulikani huko. So mtu kama huyo, wako wengi hapa tunajua wako huko Mashariki ya Kati, huko na hayo maeneo huko. huyo naye akipatikana na kosa ambalo amelifanya kwenye nchi ya wenyewe na ubalozi haujui, anafanyaje? Ameshakamatwa sasa. Yes.
Asante sana. Vivyo hivyo tulivyosema, ni wajibu wako wa kibinafsi, sababu unajua kama si eti wa Kenya pekee yao, lakini wanadamu hawana ile microchip waweza kusema ya kuwa tunaweza track tuseme huyu ambaye yuko mahali ambapo ameshikwa. Lakini wajibu ni wako, na naweza sema 99% ya nchi zote hapa ulimwenguni wanakupa ile nafasi ya kufuata vipengele vya kisheria, the rule of law. Utapewa nafasi ya kujulisha mtu mahali ulipo. Utapewa nafasi ya kupiga simu moja, simu mbili ya kujulisha mtu mahali yupo, wewe mwenyewe uko. Na kote ulimwenguni tunajua pia kuna mashirika yasiyo ya kibinafsi ambayo yanaangalia mambo ya watu ambao wameshikwa. Umezungumzia mambo ya Mashariki ya Kati, Middle East hapa vile kulivyo. Unapata ya kuwa ndio kuna watu ambao wamejipata katika makosa. Wengi wao unaweza kosa kujua mpaka wakati ambapo mambo yameshaenda mrama, yameshazidi, imeenda kabisa, ndio unasikia pengine mtu fulani hata alihukumiwa kifo, akauliwa, mambo kama haya. Lakini swali ni, mtu huyu alichukua nafasi yote ya kujulisha watu ambao wako nchi yao ama ubalozi wa nchi yao ya kuwa niko mahali fulani? Utapata kwa nafasi nyingi hawakufanya mambo kama hayo. Hivi basi tunarudi pale pale ambapo tulipoanzia. Ukiwa umepatikana na kosa lolote nchi yoyote, hakikisha umejulisha ubalozi wako. Hakikisha umejulisha jamaa zako. Kama si wewe mwenyewe, unaweza kupata namba za ubalozi. Jamaa yako yule uko pale, unamwambia pigia ubalozi wetu, waambie fulani bin fulani ameshikwa, yuko mahali fulani. Na baada hapo ubalozi utapata kujua. Ubalozi utafanya uamuzi kama wataingilia kati ama hawataingilia kati. Ndio.
Je, inamaanisha kwamba raia wa kigeni anaposhikwa kwa mfano hapa mjini Mombasa,
ndio
haitakuwa jukumu la pengine sasa hawa waliowashika, kwa sababu wamejua huyu ni raia wa kigeni,
ndio
wa communicate wao na ubalozi? Ni wewe sasa ndio ufanye hilo kama
wajibu ni wako wa kufanya hivyo. Ukitaka kusaidika, utapata zaidi sana wale ambao waliowashika inawabidi watafute ubalozi ni wale ambao pengine wako hapa kwa njia ambayo si halali. Tuseme kwa sasa vile tunafanya kazi tu, nimeshuhudia kibinafsi katika koti zetu za hapa Mombasa au hapa Pwani, tumeona kuna raia wa kigeni wameingizwa hapa kwa njia ambazo si halali. Wametoka maeneo ya Ethiopia, wametoka Kongo, wametoka pande zote, lakini wameingia hapa kwa njia ambazo si halali. Hivi basi hawatotaka hata ubalozi wao ujue wako hapa. Hivi basi utapata mtu anatokomea gerezani hapa, ama amri ambao huwa anaona zaidi sana inatokea ni wanajulishwa waliowashika warudisheni walikotoka. Kisha wanarudishwa pale ambapo wametoka. Hata kama wanaachwa kwa boda, nchi hizo zitafanya uamuzi kile itafanya na wao, kama watawaachilia ama watachukua hatua. Lakini nchi hii zaidi sana utapata vipengele vya sheria vinamruhusu yule ambaye anashughulika, awe ni jaji ama awe ni hakimu msimamizi, mahali popote inampa nafasi ya kusema watu hawa waregeshwe walikotoka.
Lakini pia itategemea na kosa
lililofanyika. Zaidi sana wanapatikana kwa kosa ya kukosa stakabadhi za kuwa hapa kihalali. Ndio.
Okay. I still want to take you to back to Margaret's story.
Yes.
So, she managed to pass through 3 airports.
Yes.
JKIA, Bole International Airport
in
Ethiopia, and Hamad International Airport in Qatar.
Yes.
How?
That's a very challenging question, very much. That's a very challenging question. It actually is an indication of how porous our borders can be.
Yeah.
Including the airports. Because you find that certain mechanisms that have been placed by different jurisdictions in different locations may let very serious things slip. because it's not once, it's not twice. You've had some people have even gotten into airplanes with material or components that are explosive in nature. And yet we have those scanning machines, you have all that. But long and short of it is that even in this story of saying that they went through this airport, that airport, and the other airport, it is all based on what we are hearing now.
Yeah, it's hearsay.
It's hearsay. None of these institutions or countries have given official statements, because you may find that the so-called psychotropic material or narcotics, you might find that they did not pass through those airports. There's a possibility that they got somewhere mid-transit.
Yeah.
So we cannot just blanket and say that these airports are porous, their security is not this and that, because first of all, what impression is given is that this package was packed here in Kenya, then it went through all of this.
Yes.
But this is an impression. Remember, cargo handling is done at every stop that you go to. Yeah, because if you're connecting flights, your cargo is handled and it's moved from one place to another. That's why it's very easy for you to complain or hear people complain that my items are removed from my bag. Yeah. So it means that there's somehow someone who can gain access to your luggage. Yeah. And this now is a challenge now to these institutions, the airlines and the airports and all that. They need to have proper mechanisms to detect that. Yeah. For example, you're going to Nairobi through SGR. You have to go through security checks.
A lot.
And all these security checks, if someone were to say that you are able to pass through with maybe a weapon or maybe a liquid that is combustive or maybe drug items, then you would say that now there's a lapse. But now all we're hearing is speculative.
Okay.
Yes.
You say that for us to be able to transfer, at times a country might not allow us to try certain cases in Kenya if we don't have the capacity to try the cases. I want to take you back to 2007.
I saw that one coming. Yes.
I want to take you back to the post-election violence and ICC.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I remember there's a lot of drama where people were like, why are we not trying these cases in Kenya?
Yes.
They're Kenyans. The offense happened in Kenya.
Yes.
Why are we trying them outside Kenya?
Yes, at The Hague.
At The Hague?
Yes. If I understand your concern properly, you need to understand that during that time, we were already signatories to the Rome Statute. So we had already subjected ourselves to the application. But even so, there are certain thresholds that has to be met.
Yeah.
You remember that the people we were talking about who were the suspects in those cases were very highly placed people in the government, elected by the people, and put there by the system. So how can the same system try them, and would there be fairness or would there be bias or something like that? Yeah. This invites a third-party independent umpire to come or maybe to step in and give us an equality or a semblance of equality of power balance. So to say that in the eyes of this court, you're just a mere person. Yeah, because if you're to try someone in this country, and we all know that we are all human, and other people may fall victim to intimidation, may fall victim to personal inefficiencies and insecurities, that what will happen if I pass a verdict of guilty or not guilty to these people? How will it? So we needed a third party. Okay. But the threshold that had to be met is that you understand that the security forces were already part of what had been used to, in accordance with the papers that were filed in court, that the security forces were part of what was used to perpetuate the atrocities that we were talking about. Yeah. The systems of the government had been used to perpetuate the same. The people in power had been used to perpetuate the same. Yeah. So it was a bit difficult for us to escape the Rome Statute, which gave us like a backup. In my opinion, as a legal practitioner, it was a very good move. Okay. Irrespective of the outcome, it was a very good move. it showed the entire world that we are capable of subjecting ourselves to a process so that the entire world can see us. And you remember that Rome Statute gave rise to the court. And that court, at some point, we've had Kenyans who served in that court. You remember the now retired Justice Joyce Alwatch?
Yes.
Yeah, she was part of such. So you find that this court was not a foreign entity per se. It is just that we were all shareholders, to use that word, shareholders to this particular Rome Statute.
Okay,
Yes.
Lawrence, on that still.
Yes.
So the case was tried at the Hague,
Yeah.
and the outcome
Yes.
was, I believe, the case was dismissed because of insufficient evidence. One person ended up being the president, right?
Yes.
Former president.
Yes.
Our president is currently,
Yes.
did we infiltrate it? Because we moved it from Kenya and
Yes.
say that we didn't want these people to interfere. We didn't want interference. But with the outcome, kila mtu alitoka pale, there was lack of evidence and the case was dismissed. Did we, as Kenyans, infiltrate the system?
Not lack of evidence per se, but there were a mishmash of things that made sure that the case collapsed, or rather the cases collapsed, because you'll find that there were issues where people were recanting evidence. Let's say you say this and tomorrow you've changed to that. There were issues of some of the witnesses dying or disappearing or things like that.
So even despite taking the cases to the Hague,
Yes.
we still had a lot of influence.
I wouldn't say influence, because remember, there are different wings or different departments to what we'll look at as the Rome Statute. The judges and the court, they had one thing. And you remember, in this aspect of most of the Commonwealth, we have a system called adversarial. Adversarial is a system whereby if my brother Gona here and my brother Marisa, if we have them going against each other, the onus is on them to present their cases. You sitting there as a judge, you have no responsibility to descend and assist him, however good or bad his case is.
Yeah.
So in this adversarial system, you have to present what is there. So the judges had no responsibility to descend to investigation, to handling of witnesses and all that. That was to third parties.
Yeah.
So if there was a failure in maybe handling, I'm saying a big if, in handling of witnesses, in protecting witnesses, in ensuring that evidence is intact, then that was within the ambit of a third party who never did their job properly. Remember, we had the office of the of the prosecutor, whereby they had a different responsibility so that what they present to court had to be solid. Remember our famous guy, Louis Moreno Campo?
Yes.
Yes, he had a difficult task to ensure that all the evidence was kept intact, and you see even the accused person had to get good counsel so that when you present, they can counter that. When you present, they can counter that. So to answer your question shortly, I cannot say with absolute certainness that there was infiltration, but all we know is that the case has collapsed. The reasons were not very, very, very convincing to a person looking at it from a perspective of a bystander. It was not making sense why the cases would collapse in the midst of all that evidence that was out there. But it did.
Okay.
Yes.
And my last question will be,
Yes.
since also we have people in government, right?
Yes.
The ESCC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, tries a lot of cases.
Yes.
And we see these cases.
They don't try. They compile, investigate, compile, and then forward to the ODPP.
Okay.
They used to try, but that power was taken away. Very sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay. Thank you. So they don't try.
They no longer try.
So we see a lot of cases, especially with high-profile individuals. If somebody is found guilty of corruption and all that, we see the cases getting dropped.
Yes.
Right? Is there a possibility, would there be a possibility where since we know that these are the people in power and they have influence,
Yes.
is there a space where that they can be tried elsewhere that they don't have influence? Because as we look at it right now, one would say that the judicial system is not really it's not free, but like one would say that
They're not independent.
yes, judicial system is not independent. That's the word.
You know, the arms of government and our society is a reflection of each and every individual who is there. The responsibility to ensure that the systems and the institutions that are in place are powerful, properly mandated and supported is on you and I. If we leave it to the politicians, Waswahili wanasema kila mwamba ngoma
uvutia kwake, na ngoma ikipigwa sana upasuka kiwambo.
Bas. So you find that these people will want to consider their interests. They will not consider the interests of the general populace. That is why you find that in Kenya, politics has become a career. So certain people, they only know that the way to stay close to power is to be politicians. So we cannot leave to these people the responsibility to safeguard and protect the general population. Now to bring it back to your question, you heard what the former Sirisa MP, no, he's not former, he went back into parliament, John Waluke,
Yes.
You heard what he was saying when his case was dropped at a very advanced level because he had been convicted. He went on appeal and then for one reason or another then he said when he was decamping from one party to another is that I told my party leader and I told my people to help me because they could help me talk to the judges to drop these cases. And they did not. But when I came to this side, you've seen what has happened. The cases have been dropped. So that is a clear vindication, not vindication, but it's a clear indication of where we are as a country in terms of institutions. You find that in one way or the other, you'll find that someone will be willing and ready to go to certain lengths to bend the rules to suit their situation. And it's very sad for us to mention that the independence of the judiciary is something that is up for debate. It should not be. In certain countries, it is never up for debate.
Okay.
Now that umetaja politicians.
Now.
Na umetaja popular, maneno ya kizungu jamani. Popularism. Populism.
No.
Mawakili mtatuua with big English. Turudi kwa kesi ya Nduta Margaret.
Ndio.
What is happening right now from the side of government? Najua wananchi wanasukuma pressure. So what is happening from the other side of the aisle ni kwamba wanajaribu kumanage situation ya Mkenya anayetoa pressure.
Utapata
kulingana na haya maneno uliyasema sasa hivi.
Kuna hiyo populism ile tunasema umesema maneno mazito sana kumanage. Yes. What we may be seeing, tunaweza kuwa kile tunaona kwa sasa ni management of the people's agitation.
Okay.
Watu wana mcheketo fulani, sasa wanajaribu kutulizwa ama kuongozwa kwa njia fulani. Lakini njia hizo zinafaa kuwa ziko za kihalali, za kisheria na zile ambazo zinatoa matokeo baada ya hapo. Tusiwadanganye watu eti hiki na hiki kitafanyika ilhali tunajua vizuri pengine kishafanyika kingine ama hakitafanyika. So that is where we are calling it populism. Sababu alikuwa na nafasi ya kufanya hiyo wakati wote, lakini kile tunaona kwa sasa ni mtu anakuja last minute anajifanya kama hakuwa anajua jambo hilo linafanyika na mambo kama haya. That populist ideology ya kumanage watu, that is what is hurting us as a country.
Right.
Unajua kuna wakati lazima uambie mtu ukweli. Kama mtu amefanya makosa, sababu niliona mwenzangu wakili aliuliza swali akasema, Wakenya ni nini tunajaribu kusaidia? Ni nini tunajaribu kufanya kwa sasa? Tumepata ya kuwa amepitia njia za kisheria na amepatikana yuko na hatia. as a country, are we trying to say that we should absolve people who are doing wrong just because they are Kenyans? Sasa maswali ni hayo lazima tujiulize.
Yeah.
Ndio.
Na hayo maswali ni magumu.
Thank you so much. We have been speaking to Lawrence Obonyo. Before I let you go, where is your office? How can people reach you? What service do you offer?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much for that. My office is located, we have our headquarters at Imara building, which is directly opposite Pandya Memorial Hospital on the 5th floor. We also have a branch in Diani, which is located at Diani Shopping Center on the ground floor. And we have one office in Kitengela behind Equity in a place called Rehema Plaza, first floor. So this is where you can reach us, but our headquarters is here in Mombasa, and also in Diani. You can reach us anytime. And our areas of practice, we are general practitioners because we have a pool of about 8 advocates and staff members that go up to 19. So we handle different areas of law, including and heavily reliant on family law, children matters, and related issues. So anything from birth all the way to succession, we handle in between. Divorces, separation, children matters. In terms of civil, children who are in conflict with the law, we handle that. We also have a civil litigation department. We have a criminal litigation department where we are famously representing the accused persons in the Shakahola matters. And we also have the general areas where we do a lot of pro bono matters for the general populace. So you're most welcome to come for services at our offices. Feel free to reach us.
Thank you so much. We will definitely reach out.
Asante sana.
Nilikuwa nimeuliza kitu lakini wachana nacho.
Utamuuliza side
nafasi nyingine.
Nilikuwa nimeuliza hapo kwa watoto hapo. Kama nataka kuleta watoto sasa wajulikane hapa nitakuja.
No, like if I want to sue a deadbeat dad.
Kwa nini wamnyoshea kidole huyu?
Mimi my case is kama nataka kutambulisha watoto wangu kwa yule ambaye yuko ndani in an effective way.
Watoto wenye wameficha.
Tusiwalemee wasikilizaji, wape nafasi nyingine, uniite tena tuzungumzie mambo ya watoto na familia.
Alright, yes.
Tutachambua mambo hayo kwa kiundani.
Yes.
Asante sana.
Thank you so much.
I highly appreciate.